Hi people, Daniel from Devil & Sons Guitars here, and thank you for making it to my last video of February 2021, where I look back on the other videos from this month and reveal the 26 brands that I used for each letter of my A to Z of Guitars series. Welcome to the Pub Quiz Challenge. Great, so thank you to everyone that's watched the 26 videos in my A to Z series. One video for each letter and everything is somehow guitar related. I'll put the link to the playlist in the video description below in YouTube, and there'll be a link at the end as well. So don't worry if you haven't watched them all, because I will be going over the brand logos again, so you could quickly jot down your answers or guesses now. But if you do have a chance to go back and look at any of them, please do, and please, if you've seen one you like, share it. Sharing is a way of helping me develop my YouTube channel, which I'm really focusing on this year, and it's thanks to you people that it's beginning to grow. So to decide which things to cover for the A to Z, I put a call out on my social media on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube and asked you to help me decide. So at the start of each video I've mentioned if the suggestion came from one of those sources. I also went on the Guitar Whore Groupies group, the community page dedicated to those fans that want to go more in depth with their conversations about guitars, that links to the Guitar Whores page on there. It's a page which basically just shows off pictures of guitars from all around the internet, from all different makers, whereas the groupies discuss things in more detail. It's quite a light-hearted space, and I was hoping they could help me with some of these suggestions. I really wanted to make it more interactive than me just putting out videos that I thought would be interesting. Anyway, let's get on with the quiz. The first video was A for Action, and actually that was suggested by Zach Collins, who was the founder of the Guitar Whores, and he's been someone that really supported Devil & Sons when I first started out a number of years ago by sharing my images and really helping me build up a few followers early on. So for that one I went for this brand. Do you recognise where the A came from? It's actually a brand that I hold quite dear because they made my first ever bass that I bought. Yes, it's an Aria Pro, or specifically Aria Pro 2. Tick that off if you got it. Next up was B for Bridge, and really I made this video because I have a playlist of lots of other videos I've made, each one looking in depth into different types of bridges and how they work. But those videos are quite long and really focused, so when someone comes to me with a question about a bridge, instead of sending them to a really long video, I wanted a simple video that sums up what a bridge is and how there are differences amongst different ones of them. So it's quite fun just pulling out the different ones I had in my drawer that I was using for builds. Anyway, B is for Bridge. Surely you recognise this. This brand might be more recognisable if I put forward an R. The R used to appear on their headstocks and their early designs, but I wanted to go for each of these with the first letter of the brand. Do you recognise it? It's a brand that some of my favourite heavy metal bands used to play when I was younger. The first time I ever saw a Warlock shaped guitar, it was being played by Max Cavalleria from Sepultura, and of course it's a BC Rich. C was for Cavity Insulation. Now I really enjoyed making this video because it was a science sort of experiment where I set up a guitar with the 3 single coil pickups that you'd expect in a Strat, and I wired them up and recorded the sounds with no shielding, with shielding that was aluminium tape, and with shielding that was a carbon based paint, so you could tell the differences. And I also put that shielding in different parts of the guitar, both in the control cavity and under the pickups, and it was just so interesting. I definitely recommend you check that out. I did a couple of other science videos as we went along through this, and I'm definitely going to make more. The idea of actually testing things out is great to see what impact they have. But anyway, C, this was the logo for C. Do you recognise it? It's a brand that I've come to love during lockdown. I already followed them, and in the past I bought some luthier tools from them. But the reason I came to love them during lockdown this last year was because they run the Great Guitar Build-Off competition, which I will be entering this year in 2021, and I'm going to be asking you again on my different social media, so make sure you follow me there, to help me develop the idea for my submission to the competition. You should know it by now. It's of course Crimson Guitars, or Crimson Custom Guitars. Absolutely worth a follow on YouTube, and also they have a sort of segued smaller channel where they focus on more luthier related specific tips, which I also recommend you follow. D, well I could have used Devil and Sons for my logo there, but actually I used this one. Do you recognise what it is? I took the D from their name for this video on the Drop D tuner, or actually Hipshot haven't renamed it the extender. Yes, it's DR strings. I love DR strings. One reason I love them is they make strings in strange colours, and for my sort of guitars that I make, it's perfect. When I made the Rebel basses quite a while back, I put neon strings on them. I wanted it to look like laser beams or a bit like lightsabers, and DR strings were perfect for that. I've used black strings from them for my Alien Xenomorph guitars, and I've used their red strings on my Proton Caster, which actually I'm going to be remaking and upgrading this year. In fact, I'm going to change it quite a bit, and then it will be finally up for sale. I've kept it all this time because I liked it so much, but I think I can make something even better from it now, and it's got to go to someone that's going to use it, I think. So my video about electricity was a bit of a weird one, but I wanted to put it up there because it's definitely a misconception about electric guitars that you could electrocute yourself with them because they're full of electricity. And as I mentioned in the video, it was a problem I had when I was trying to sort out insurance for my business. But what is this logo from? It's from something that when I first started playing electric guitar, I really wanted one, but I didn't know where to get one at the time. Couldn't really buy things online. And it's something that really uniquely changes the sound. Now, there's a few companies that make this type of system now. Have you guessed what it is yet? It adds a long sustaining sound to your notes and a bit of vibrato if you want. Yep, it's the EBow. Maybe if you've got one and you use it, you could let me know in the comments, because I'm intrigued to hear people using them, especially if you've got a YouTube channel. Mention it below, share a link with me. I'd love to watch that video. Now, I find fretboard radiuses quite interesting because when I first started playing guitar, I had no idea there was a difference. In fact, I started playing classical guitar, which is totally flat, and when I switched to electric guitar at the time, I probably didn't even notice that. What I noticed was the thinness of the neck in comparison. So F was fretboard radius, and the F for this comes from a brand that have totally changed electric guitars. They're a brand who makes something that annoys a lot of guitarists because it's so hard to set up. But don't worry, a little self-promotion here. I've made a video about them. Yep, it's the Floyd Rose. Now, fretboard radius was something that Shahzin Samsudin asked me to talk about on my YouTube channel as a comment once. So I definitely put that in. If you're watching, Shahzin, I hope you enjoyed it. G, do you recognise this G? Now, the video I made for G was about string gauges, and I just gave an overview of them and why you might use different gauges, but really it's something you could talk about for ages. There are videos out there on YouTube of people that have changed their strings to a different gauge and been amazed by the change in their tone of the guitar and wondered how that happened and why it happened. Well, I try and explain it a bit in this video, but really it's something you need to go and try yourself. Maybe you could try it on a guitar made by this G. Now, this brand make guitars that I think are really stylish. Yep, it's Gretsch. The Great Gretsch Sound. The H that I used for the humbucker video is a brand who I've bought a few guitars from recently to customise and do up, and I've been absolutely blown away by the quality of build for something on such a great budget price. They're a brand that relate to another brand that are coming up later. The other brand is more the shop that sells them, and this brand is of course Harley Benton. If you've got a Harley Benton, do let me know in the comments because I think they're great and I'd love to hear what you think about them. I for intonation. Now, understanding intonation is so important for the setup of your guitar, and I've mentioned it in previous videos I've made about setups, about how guitar works, but it's always been embedded within that video. So this was my chance to make a video very succinctly about it, and in that video I've got some graphics and animations which I really hope help explain it to help you understand. It's all about helping here. And the I for this video comes from a brand who make the design of guitar that I loved the most when I was a teenager, and in fact when I saw a bass guitar by them for sale on eBay, I went and bought it straight away. It was a very unique guitar. I still have it. When I used to play live, it was one that came out quite regularly. Unfortunately, with lockdown, etc., I haven't played live much, but it's still hanging up in this actual room because I love it so much. It's a brand who I relate to rock, to metal. It's Ibanez. And the suggestion for intonation came from Jamie Alex Bell on Facebook and Bob Schmidt, part of the Guitar Hall Groupies page. Do you recognise this J? Honestly, it's a brand I'd never heard of, but it was recommended to me by someone. And now I've checked out their website and I think they're pretty cool. Just quickly while we're here, J for Jack, I wanted to make a simple video for simple things because the knowledge that people are looking for on the internet is so varied, from the in-depth things like that intonation and like how cavity shielding works to the simple things like a Jack. J was suggested both by Astrid Marnowick on Facebook and Todd Mills in the Guitar Halls Groupies group, and the J for Janktone came from Eric M. Johnson, part of the Guitar Halls Groupies as well. So thank you to him. I definitely enjoyed making the K for Kill Switch video. Kill switches is something that I used to use when I played live in a rock band ages ago, but I had it in a pedal, as I mentioned in the video, and in this I also talk about how you make them to put in your guitar and how to wire them, because wiring them is really important, and there are two ways to wire them, in my opinion, a wrong way and a right way, and I mentioned the right way in the video. Do you know what this K is? It's a K for a company that make bridges. I would definitely want to get hold of one to make one of those in-depth videos to add to my series of bridges. It's Carla. And the suggestion for Kill Switch was another Guitar Hall groupie. It was Alex Gladwin. Thanks, Alex. Now the L that appeared in my locking straps video, I put the whole shape of the logo and blocked the rest out. It's a brand that for some reason, it's very Marmite, and if you don't know what I mean by Marmite, Marmite is a thing that is sold in England. It's a yeast-based stuff that you spread on your bread, and people really either hate it or they really like it. There's no in between, and it seems to be the same with Line 6. Now, ever since I was a teenager, I've been playing in bands with people using Line 6 equipment, first from their pod and then onto their larger pedal boards, and I've honestly got to say, I think they're quite good. I don't know what the fuss is about. But please don't judge me if you don't like them. Just argue with people in the comments below and still watch my videos. Maybe you can like and subscribe while you're here and we can share the love. Cheers. Now I find the reasoning that the markers are where they are on the guitar, 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, etc. is quite interesting. And I really tried to cover that in this video. But the M that's in this video comes from, maybe the brand with the best logo out of this A to Z. Possibly. I quite like the one at Z as well. And also I like my own Devil & Sons one, which I revamped, having looked at all of these logos. Do you know who it is yet? Yeah, it's Mojo. Absolutely wicked logo. Absolutely wicked products. Go check them out. Neck profiles, probably quite a hard thing to really experience just from learning about it on YouTube, but hopefully this video made sense as to why there are differences and how they work. But it's something that probably you need to go and try out. As I mentioned in the video, I've got a few guitars with different neck profiles, and it's just one of the small elements that changes really how you play that guitar. But a few people suggested neck profiles, or necks in some way. One was Astrid Marnowick on Facebook, cheers Astrid. One was Bob Schmidt again, in the Guitar Hall Groupies, thanks Bob. And finally there was Shahzin Samsudin, who asked me again on a YouTube comment, maybe I could talk a bit about neck profiles and necks in general. That kind of links into the fretboard radiuses that he was also interested in. So this one's for him, and this N is a really tough one I think. I know what it is because I've recently bought a few of their pedals, it's a pedal company, for a series of videos that I'm going to be making a bit later in the year. Probably not till April or May now because I'm just so busy with some other things that I'm working on that will hopefully appear on YouTube themselves. Any clue? It's actually a brand I'm not sure how to pronounce because I've heard it pronounced in different ways. Maybe it's Nukes, maybe it's Nux, or maybe it's New X. But whatever it is, it's also the brand who makes some of the Amazon Basic pedals. I actually think they're pretty cool. So stay tuned to see my videos where I look at some New X pedals. Surely everybody knows the O that I used for oils. The oil video was the most expensive one I made because I bought in a load of new oils, but it gave me a chance to really experiment, because in the past I've really just bought one bottle and then used that up, and when it's been used up, bought a different brand to try them out, and this time conclusively I've decided which is my favourite. Oils was suggested by two Guitar Hall groupies. One of them is Shane Mudley Kerr and the other one is Alex Gladwin. Cheers guys. That O, yeah, you got it, it's orange. I always wanted an orange amp when I was a kid, and a number of the places that I used to go and rehearse with different bands had amps you could use there, and if ever I had the chance I would use one of the orange amps. Although I've got to say, I'm not necessarily sure they are my favourite after trying out so many different things. But as always, it depends on the guitar, depends on the bass, depends on what music you're playing. Maybe I need to fork out on loads of amps to make some videos about them. If you want to help me make that video, you can help me out by sharing this video with other people, because sharing is caring, and that might lead me to do it. Now, I quite enjoyed making the thumbnails for these videos. They're a bit different from the ones I've made before, and this one, for example, has one of my instruments in the background. A lot of them do that. I'm trying to use them a bit to promote the video and a bit to show off the work I've made. This was a paint job I did on a guitar that was a paisley finish, but it's got two P90s in it. P90s were this video, and P90s were suggested by Tom Ohonki from the Guitar Hole Groupies. Do you know what the P is though? They've got a very unique headstock on their guitars. It was a headstock that I don't think I liked when I was younger, and I've grown to be indifferent about it. They are Parker guitars. If you've got a Parker guitar and you love your headstock, let me know. Let me know why. Why? Now, I looked at quick release straps for my Q video, mainly as an excuse to get out that Proton caster, which I'm going to be doing some work on. But for Q, it's quite hard to find a brand. And then I found this. They make something very particular that's related to guitars that I think is a quite important thing for you to have. They make tuners, and they are quick tune. Maybe you've got a quick tune tuner. They make a few different types of them. I've never used one myself, so I'm not sure how they compare. In my workshop, I've got both my Boss chromatic tuner pedal and also my Korg pitch black. They're my go-to tuners that I use for setting up guitars. So thank you, Shane Mudley Kerr from the Guitar Whores. You gave me an excuse to have a rant about relics. I make relic guitars, I relic people's guitars for them, and I make those extreme relic guitars. So I have lots of conversations online with people, and lots of people hate relics. I think it's fine to not like them, it's fine to hate them, but don't hate people that like them. Just understand that there's differences out there, man. Meanwhile, you might recognise the R because they were one of the brands that made one of the oils that I used in my oil video. But they're probably most well known for making strings. Yeah, of course, it's Roto Sound. Did you get the S from the single coil? It was a brand that I first used when I made a guitar for Mikey from Skindred, because he likes this brand's locking tuners. Yeah, you've got it. They're Sharla. And actually, I really enjoy Sharla's Instagram page. So do go check out Sharla's website, etc. But go and check them out on Instagram and tell them I sent you. I'm at Devil & Sons on Instagram. In fact, I'm at Devil & Sons on all the social media I'm on. People have been trying to get me on TikTok recently, but yeah, not sure it's for me. So Guitar Whore Gaz Collins suggested tuning. Quite an interesting topic, because as a beginner you probably don't know there are multiple tunings out there, and as someone more advanced you've probably tried a few of them out. Personally, I've only really stuck to drop D, detuning the whole thing a step or half a step and playing in standard tuning. But the T is a place that I buy lots of my guitar cases from. I buy some guitars that I customise for people on there. I also buy lots of products from them. But unfortunately, because of Brexit, it's a little bit awkward buying things from mainland Europe at the moment. Now, I hope that's going to change soon. It's awkward partly because of couriers and partly because of tax and the uncertainty of what's going on. It's 2021, people. Hopefully if I do another A to Z in 2022, I'll be reordering from this company. Yep, it's Tommen. Now my thanks have to go again to Bob Schmidt from the Guitar Whores, who suggested looking at unwound strings for you. Unwound and wound. It gave me a chance to dig out this, my microscope camera, which I took some close-ups of strings on. It's great fun, and it's given me an idea for making more videos and more photos for my Instagram channel. Cheers for that, Bob. Anyway, the U has a really cool font, but do you know the brand? Of course, it's Univox, a really cool vintage brand that made amps, pedals, guitars, basses, you name it. Wicked logo, really feels like a 60s logo to me. Now, my video for V on volume pots was the second video in this series after the cavity shielding, where I felt I was getting a bit experimental and scientific by testing out different types of pots. And I enjoyed it so much, I'm definitely going to make a very similar video about tone pots, so stay tuned for that one. But the V that I used for the video, do you know where that came from? Similar name to the U. Of course, it's Vox. Who hasn't used a Vox amp at some point? Let me know below. The W in the whammy video is a brand I've also come across before, because quite often when I make my guitars, it's just easier for me to buy in a neck. It saves me a bit of time and lets me just get on with the sculpting and carving and additions that I make onto my weird looking guitars. And for the guitar I made again for Mikey for Skindred, he knew he wanted a very specific type of neck. So instead of me carving and making my own one to emulate it, why not just buy the very specific neck he wanted? And it was made by Warmouth. So maybe I should have used X for extender, the tuner that lets you drop D, instead of using drop D tuners to cover the extender. But it allowed me to do something a little bit different for X, something a bit unique that you maybe hadn't come across before, that was actually suggested to me by JTAR Tech on Instagram. So thanks JTAR Tech. It was the idea of XLR jacks being used on guitars, not something that's very common, and something that I think people mainly would probably use if they're putting it through some sort of MIDI system or interface or going directly into a recording system. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't think of an X brand name related to guitars. Maybe you know one. I should have asked you earlier if you do. Let me know in the comments if you do know one. What I ended up doing is just going online and doing some searching, and I found a brand I hadn't heard of before, and I urge you to go and check them out, and you could thank them for helping me find a brand to use for X. They're called Exotic Guitars, based out of California. Y was a tough one too, but thanks to amyl nitrate, one of the Guitar Hole groupies, I was able to talk about yellowing, the thing that happens to certain finishes on guitars over time. Has it happened to you? Has it happened to your favourite guitar? Do you like your guitar yellow, or would you prefer it as it was before? It's that old relic argument again. Do you just let it happen? Do you try and restore it? So the brand that were Y, I put their logo there as well because it's hard to tell just from the first letter who they really are. They're a brand that I relate to one of the first musical instruments I got as a kid, my little plastic keyboard. Maybe I should relate them more to a keytar? Yeah, it's Yamaha. Strangely, when I was looking for my second bass, I went to a bass guitar show in the UK and I tried out a Yamaha bass and it was brilliant, and I really regret not buying it. Not that I wasn't happy with my DePinto bass, which is excellent, I still have it, but that Yamaha bass was so unique. It was really lightweight, it actually felt quite plasticky in the body. It was just something totally different. At the same time, the first people I used to jam with as a teenager included someone who had a guitar that was a Yamaha Pacifica. Very cheap, beginner Strat type guitar. At the time we had no complaints about it. In fact, I'm not sure I even would now. Now the Z or Z for the last video, which I have to apologise for, I just couldn't think of anything Z, and that's when I came up with a Z connector. Is it the best option? Let me know if you've got a better idea, but I tell you something, the logo for Z is probably my favourite out of this list. Very close to the Mojo pickups that we looked at earlier. Oh, maybe I like that one as well. Do you know who this is? It's a pedal company. It's ZevX. Thank you so much for watching this video and watching all the others. Please do share that playlist out there with people. It's been a great month to do this in. 28 days, 26 letters, a video at each end, perfect. I probably won't do it again next year because I'm not sure I can find that many new A to Zs unless I do something a bit different like the A to Z of guitar making. Who knows? But I have found the making this many videos over a month really exciting and really interesting, and hopefully it's pushed my video making a bit more. So over the next few months you might see other kind of series like this from me, but maybe not that many videos a month. So until next time, thanks so much for watching and thanks for your support, and most importantly, happy strumming.